Now this is Hale's first defence of the British 10-stone division, which he won in convincing style against Andy Holligan in May. If he wins tonight, he's lined up to challenge Zach Padilla of the USA for the WBO light welterweight championship. Hugh Forde, well, he's been around for a long time. He was the British and Commonwealth super featherweight champion, but he's had only 3 fights in the last 33 months. Hale, though, has only been faced with one 12-round contest. So does this give Forde a slight advantage?
Well, I've worked hard. If he has to go 12, he'll go 12, but at the end of the day, I'm going to be the champion.
You've had an up-and-down career, and at the age of 30, you're fighting a younger man. Do you feel this is a fight you must win?
I've had a lot of problem with weight, and now I've found the right weight division that I want to fight in. And at 30, I'm mature and strong.
Your commentators once again on Sportswire are John Rawling and Harry Mullen.
27 years old, British light welterweight champion, the Rooster, that's his nickname, and Rooster is the chant of the crowd for the former dustman who's become such a local hero down in Bristol. Produced a quite outstanding performance in winning this title. Walks in with his manager, Chris Sanigar. A tremendous reception from a packed crowd. Hugh Forde had already made his way in. 3 years Hale senior from Birmingham. A southpaw, tall and orthodox sort of fighter. Better known in the early stages of his career as a super featherweight, but will it be his night tonight? Master of ceremonies once again, Mike Goodall.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening, sponsored by Bristol Carpets and promoted by Frank Maloney and Chris Sanigar. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a contest of 12 3-minute rounds to decide the light welterweight championship of Great Britain, between introducing in the red corner, wearing the black trunks, from Birmingham, with a record from 28 contests, 24 wins, 4 losses, 11 wins coming by way of KO, the former British and Commonwealth super featherweight champion, Hugh Forde. And his opponent, ladies and gentlemen, in the blue corner, wearing the purple trunks, from Bristol, from his 23 professional contests. He has 22 wins, 1 loss, 15 wins coming by way of KO. He's the current British and Commonwealth light welterweight champion, the Rooster, Ross Hale. At the weigh-in today, Forde scaled 10 stone exactly, Hale 9 stone, 12 3/4 pounds. Your officials appointed for this contest by the British Boxing Board of Control, the timekeeper, Mr. Roger Bowden, the referee, Mr. Mickey Van of Leeds.
So Mickey Van draws the 2 fighters together. Mickey Van, who you might remember, the man who officiated in the Lewis Bruno contest in Cardiff. And now he takes control of this British light welterweight title fight. Ross Hale, the popular hero, against this man, Hugh Forde from Birmingham. Hale with the possibility of a world title fight coming up in October if he can win this one. Forde southpaw, oh, and he's in trouble straight away. He was tagged there on the chin and just lost balance for a moment, and already he's felt the weight of Ross Hale's punches. Oh, and I don't think this may not last too long, because Forde now just wants to hold on and cling on and buy a little bit of time.
He just doesn't look physically strong enough to punch with Hale. He spent most of his career as a super feather, 9 stone 4, and he certainly isn't strong enough to compete with big light welterweights like Hale.
Well, Ross Hale, remember, the man who blew away Andy Holligan in an outstanding performance. Forde now trying to mount a little bit of a response of his own on the ropes right in front of our commentary position. Hale in his 24th professional fight, could be taking on Zach Padilla in October for the WBO title if he wins this. He knows that it's his chance here to gate crash the big time if he's not done already. And again, Hugh Forde just wants to get out of the way. Forde, former British and Commonwealth champion at super featherweight. There is a bit of a suggestion that he might be on the downgrade, but that's a good little flurry of punches he's put together, Harry.
Yeah, that's a little more encouraging than what we've seen from him so far. But he's in trouble again. He's in bad trouble.
That chopping left to the side of the head. I think he felt that one. That'll have set his ears ringing.
It looks as if he'll be fortunate to get past 2 or 3 rounds of this.
Hale looks so far the superior puncher. It's quite clearly got enormous advantages in punch power. Forde's got to try and outbox him.
Well, in his super featherweight days, he was a very accomplished, skillful boxer, but that all seems to be gone now. He's just mauling and messing and spoiling his way through this now.
Professional since 1986. He's got Paddy and Tommy Lynch in his corner. Experienced fellas there. And he's coming back well in the closing stages of this opening round, but Hale's surely done enough to win this one quite emphatically on anybody's scorecard. Paddy and Tommy Lynch, who of course looked after careers of, amongst others, Pat Cowdell and Lloyd Christie, have seemingly refound their interest in boxing with this man and with Robert McCracken, who's living just around the corner in King's Heath in Birmingham from Hugh Forde. Well, Forde came back a little bit towards the closing stages of that round, but Hale clearly the stronger puncher.
You get the feeling constantly that this fight could end with the next punch. Everything that Hale connects with seems to have a dramatic effect on Forde. Forde's punch resistance seems to be non-existent.
Hale lost to the Cypriot Andreas Panay, but then came back with 7 straight wins, and he's been almost a born-again fighter. And there you see in the early stages he almost had his man down.
And Forde looks so ungainly as well, and sort of disjointed, uncoordinated.
Just wondered a little bit whether Ross Hale may possibly have struggled just a touch to make the weight today. One or 2 suggestions that he'd had to starve himself a little bit to make the 10-stone limit.
No, he always has this gaunt look about him.
Seconds out, round 2.
Not too many spare places here in this Whitchurch Leisure Centre for this one. The whole of Bristol behind Ross Hale. Scheduled to go 12 rounds, of course, and better work from Forde in this second. Having got over those anxious moments in the opening minutes. Oh, a good body shot from Hale. Forde self-managed nowadays, in with a variety of people, including Barry Hearn and Mickey Duff. Now looks after his own affairs. And he's turned this round well in this round. These are not particularly good moments for Ross Hale.
There doesn't appear to be a lot of power in Forde's punches, though. They're landing all right, but I don't think Hale is in any difficulties here.
Well, he's going to have to do a little bit more than just lie on the ropes. Forde looks to have a slight height advantage, possible slight reach advantage, and of course southpaw, a little ungainly and awkward, and almost bundled over with little more than a push then.
Well, I think he lost control of his legs, and I think he was definitely hit and hurt.
Not been too active in recent years, Hugh Forde. Only 3 fights in the last 33 months, in fact. A minute to go in the second round. Bit untidy this second round after the opener, and Hale so far in this period hasn't really been able to find his range. The corner desperate for Forde to keep his hands up. Keep your hands up, Hugh, is the call from the Lynch brothers. A few feet away from where I'm sitting. Well, difficult round to score, that one, Harry. The greater power was with Hale, but the more punches, I suspect, were landed by Forde.
Oh yeah, I was surprised that Hale took such a negative approach to that round. He's clearly the stronger man. He clearly can hurt Forde whenever he connects, but he just didn't throw enough punches.
Forde's coordination almost has looked a bit worrying on occasions. He's almost looked elastic-legged a couple of times when he's been tagged and caught off balance, and he's almost been put down by a punch on
this was the
push on a couple of occasions. That was actually a little punch to the side of the head.
His legs seemed to go out of control, and to be, as Hugh McElvenney once famously put it, as if he was trying to leave the building by separate exits.
Corners 10 seconds.
Well, a little bit of an untidy fight so far, this one. Into the third. I'm sure Hale would have hoped very much to have got an explosive win once again here. His last 7 wins since that defeat against Panay have all come inside the distance. He's developing something of a puncher's reputation. 22 wins and the 1 defeat. 15 of those wins have come inside the distance. Mickey Van ticked off Forde, incidentally, for holding. He wants to see a bit more clean work from the Birmingham man. Seeing those flurries of punches from Forde, but it's a powder puff sort of attack. There's no real meat behind them, and he's having another real ticking off from Mickey Van for holding that time, but round the back of the head. I'm not sure if I don't think he's actually given him an official warning, but that's a very stern ticking off.
Well, they can't actually deduct a point in British boxing, but certainly Van made it very clear that any more of that and he risks disqualification. There were a lot of misgivings in official circles about this match. The Commonwealth Championships Council refused to sanction it as a championship fight. And I know there are very senior figures in the British Boxing Board of Control who weren't entirely happy about it either. And so far their misgivings are being justified, I think.
Oof, and Hale was only a fraction off target with that. If Forde hadn't just swayed out of harm's way there, he could have been in real trouble, and he's now doing little more than holding on again. I think it's just surely this is just going to be a question of when Hale catches up with him. Forde trying to rein in the punches, but there's no power or authority there. Those are real sort of slappy, long-range efforts. The two men almost look as though they are a different weight, Harry.
They do. Forde just doesn't look like a light welterweight.
Well, that's about the 3rd time that he's been spoken to. Mickey Van, one of those higher profile referees, shall we say, who would certainly not balk at handing out serious retribution should it be required, or serious judgment. Hale's just got to really bide his time, I think, Harry. He's not got to get frustrated.
Well, it's not World Championship form from Hale so far.
Well, and of course that's the possibility of what he's going to be in before very long. And that's an uppercut he's been caught with from Forde. And again.
This is a good little effort from Forde.
Not an easy round to score again. Forde once again probably landed the more punches, the greater power from Hale, and it just depends how the referee is seeing it. I personally think that Forde possibly did enough to edge the round, just by the fact that he was throwing more punches.
I don't think Forde is impressing Mickey Van at all, though. All that holding and spoiling is going to tell heavily against him.
It could well be. You see some of the action from the last round. And you see there, it's very, very untidy.
There's been far too much of this kind of thing, and Mickey Van is quite right to be taking a firm line with Forde. This is a championship fight after all, and Forde is not producing boxing championship quality.
Well, when you think of some of the big names who are in this division, though, Ross Hale is certainly not looking like a Julio Cesar Chavez out there.
No, he certainly isn't.
Fourth round.
Though it's not been desperately easy with the way in which Forde has approached this fight so far. Into the fourth. British light welterweight title at stake, scheduled to go 12 rounds if necessary.
It's one of boxing's old cliches that two southpaws never make a good fight, and I think we're seeing this illustrated again tonight.
It doesn't happen, to be quite honest, it doesn't happen very often, does it? I mean, a southpaw gets all sorts of opportunity to spar against a normal stance fighter, but you don't very often see two southpaws in the ring together.
Well, thank God for that. But really, if Hale has got serious world title aspirations, he should be asserting himself on this fight. Forde is there to be beaten, he's there to be knocked out. He's got a history of suffering bad knockouts in championship fights. Yeah,
he got badly knocked out by both Joey Jacobs and Kevin Pritchard in championship fights, and a lot of people thought he'd never come back from that. Not from Joey Jacobs, rather from Kevin Pritchard, and then he lost badly to Tony Pep, didn't he, after that?
He did, yeah.
And also lost to Paul Harvey.
Hale should be just taking this fight by the scruff of the neck, and he's not doing that at all.
And the support from the crowd just a little bit muted at the moment. Midway stage of the fourth. It's the boos for the holding again. Although I think on that occasion I'm not sure that Forde was the guilty partner, or the guilty party. Hale's just not getting the opportunity to get his bombs off, is he? He can't find the big punch. He's just not managing to tee off at the minute.
It's so unusual to see Hale in a dull, messy fight like this, because always his are blood and thunder wars, like the fights of Mickey Driscoll and Holligan and so on.
The crowd responded to that, but I think Forde probably took that on the gloves. And then it's the holding on. There's a few boos and catcalls around the place. Hale almost like a cricketer who can't quite get his timing right. He's putting in the effort there and going through the motions, but the ball's just not getting off the square at the minute.
Time to take a short break, so stay with us on Sports Wire.
Seconds out, round 5.
Into the fifth. Things can only get better. It's all backpedaling, isn't it, from Forde? A lot of those jabs are coming off or being fired off while he's in reverse gear. He's just not planting to deliver punches of any authority.
Hale can't seem to cut him off, though. He can't cut down the ring on him. And whenever he does manage to, he gets tied up in tangles like this.
Well, I'm sure those are considered. Tactics. And Forde would be a foolish man to try and trade with Ross Hale. Before the fight, Forde's corner did say that they wanted to try and get their man through the first three, because a few people were saying this was likely to be an early knockout, and in the early stages in the opening round it was anxious times for Hugh Forde, and well, they've got through the first three, and can he now start to move and box? I think Forde stage of the fifth, it's almost a chess match out there, isn't it? Not a very good one at that either.
I think Forde is growing in confidence, though. There's a rather more positive look about him.
It has been a very, very disappointing performance indeed from Ross Hale so far. If he's got serious hopes of a world title fight, he's got to be doing better than this. I must confess I was among those who thought that he would have an explosive win tonight.
I didn't think we would see a fourth round, and here we are in the fifth.
The referee really has got to get a grip of this, surely.
But I think possibly Mickey Van has backed himself into a corner here, and that he's given him a final warning, and now doesn't want to disqualify him just at the point where the fight is becoming a little bit interesting, and Forde is trying to box more positively. So I think Van is letting a lot of the holding and the mauling go unpunished for that reason.
Closing stages of the fifth. Hale just managed to get through with one little sneak hook, but Forde took it well. Oh, and that's not really according to the script at all. Well. Right on the bell. Ross Hale just got caught a little bit on the ropes there, Harry.
That's becoming interesting, isn't it?
Just goes to show, you can't always prejudge this game. 30 years old. I think if you said to most people, Hugh Forde, what about him, that have said, well, he was a very good fighter, but his best days are behind him. But here, if he does upset Ross Hale, it would be a very big upset indeed.
Well, I think it's a bit early to be talking about upsets. I'm still fairly confident that Hale at some point in the 12 rounds will find the punches that'll get rid of him. And, Mickey Van has just been over to Forde's corner and given him another talking to.
Well, I think he's as you say. I think Mickey Van said his piece, hasn't he? You know, it would be a sad way for a fight to end if it were to end on a disqualification.
Seconds out, round 6.
Here we go for the 6th. And so much of this fight, I mean, you can take your choice and make your pick, because if you're sitting at home watching this on wire television, it's such a hard one to score. And a lot of the fight has just been mauling and holding, punches which have been taken on the gloves or just round the back of the head, which haven't been scoring punches. It really has been very, very untidy.
And it's been a nightmare to score as well. I mean, how do you read a fight like this?
Well, you probably read it wrongly. And Forde, to my eyes, is landing the more punches. And now he's toppled over on his own of his own volition. There's no punch there. I think there's about a bit of water in the corner which he slipped over on.
Yeah, they're mopping up the corner there.
Hugh Forde, incidentally, was a pretty fair kickboxer in the early 80s. One of these natural athletes, lithe sort of customer.
I think he certainly is growing in confidence. The longer this fight progresses, and I think he's probably surprised himself to have come through unscathed this far.
Well, you say that, but before the fight, we heard him speaking. He's certainly talking a good fight, and he approached this with confidence. And Hale, to my eyes, in this round, okay, the crowd's booing because Forde's going boring in, but to my eyes, Hale's just not doing anything out there.
He hasn't landed a significant punch at all in this round.
He's totally baffled at the moment. He's not found a way to solve this rangy, quick-moving opponent who's getting in there like that, you see, like that, and he's got no answer to it. And there were a couple of punches landed there, and they came from Forde. Now, Mickey Vann may be scoring this fight to Ross Hale, but I personally can't see at the moment how he can be doing.
Hale's at his best with opponents who stand right in front of him and trade, you know, as Mickey Driscoll did and as Holligan did.
This is a bad round for Ross Hale.
He looks just bewildered and confused at the moment by Forde.
He's got to find a way, somehow, of turning this into a slugging match, because at the moment, he's being beaten out there. Ross Hale, at the moment, in the 6th round, just might be seeing that title slip away, and he might be seeing a huge payday in Hong Kong slip away. He's trying to plant himself and find that big shot, but he's just not getting in there. Now, is the referee going to do anything about that? You're not supposed to dip below waist height, and he did do. Hale manages at last to land a couple of punches to the side of the head, and those are the first punches, more or less, in the whole period, coming from the Bristol man. Well, I think you've got to give that round to Hugh Forde.
No question about it. It's a strange and a disappointing performance from Hale. There were rumours that he was having trouble at the making the light welterweight limit, and his performance might suggest that to be true. Fighters who have struggled to make weight often lack that little bit of snap and zip in their work, and certainly that's been the case with Hale.
We caught sight of Hale winking over the ropes at somebody in the crowd. He's really got to get his mind on the job. You see here some of the combination of punches being thrown, and well, there might be a bit of winking going on, but watch for yourself. Who's on the receiving end?
The punches were all from Forde.
Growing confidence, I suspect, in that corner, and there's a couple of wise old heads there.
And it'll be one of the biggest upsets of the year if he does pull it off.
Well, it's the halfway stage, and I've got him ahead on my scorecard. I've got Hugh Forde ahead in this fight. If that's a misleading appraisal, I apologise now, but you can only call it as you see it. And to my eyes, Ross Hale just is not doing anything at the moment. You still suspect that it's only a matter of time before he finds his range, and before he gets home. That was a definite low punch, incidentally, which went in from Hale there.
He may well run out of rounds in which to do it, though. I mean, we're in the second half of the fight now, and he's still no closer to bringing this man down.
Threw in a couple of punches which were down around a questionable target, but got away with it. We're in the second half of the fight. And if you're talking about people fighting according to game plan and according to tactics, well, it's Forde's fight so far. He's the one, really, who's dictated the pattern of the fight.
I mean, you can't argue with his tactics. They're not pretty to watch, but they're certainly effective. He's stopped Hale working, and he's survived. He's still there, and he's in front.
He landed the little flurry of punches, then got in, and it's just sheer exasperation for Hale. You can see it written across his face. I think he's starting to look a little bit dispirited up there. He's starting to look as though he can't solve this problem.
I think he's just run out of ideas.
Which is desperately disappointing if that's the case for somebody who we reckoned as one of the coming names of British boxing. Even at the advanced or relatively advanced age of 27.
I think he might have the beginnings of a mark under his right eye as well.
Yeah, certainly a little bit of bruising there.
He looks...
See, look, there's no great authority in those punches, is there, from Forde? But it's just a cumulative effect.
Yeah.
And Hale's back on those ropes. He's doing nothing. Those are anxious times. And Hugh Forde could be on the way to springing a major upset here, because Ross Hale has not got a clue as to what to do to keep this man off. The crowd is trying to stir him on to greater efforts and greater endeavours, but there's just nothing there.
He just can't get away.
Dare I suggest that this man is not happy at the weight?
Well, that was the rumour, and it would may well be true.
He looks out on his feet, Harry.
He looks dispirited. He looks as if Forde has broken his heart, basically. And that's the one thing that we thought it was impossible to do.
Well, we suggested beforehand that he might have struggled to make the weight to cross him, though.
But from nowhere, he's turned the fight.
Well. Mickey Van had a long, hard look at Hugh. Oh, he's got him. He's got him. He's turned the fight round with two punches. First the right, then the left. And that's it. Well, two punches, and Ross Hale's done it.
Well, that's the drama of boxing.
What an extraordinary turnaround.
That's what makes this the most dramatic and the most explosive and the most exciting sport there is.
Just when we were starting to say that Ross Hale was running out of ideas and was seeing his title slip away, it was a right which turned it, and then a left which finished it.
Well, it was a magnificent finish, but the memory of the fight is going to be the disappointing performance that went before it.
7th round KO for Ross Hale. Great jubilation up there in the ring. Hugh Forde is sitting on a stool in front of us, but I think he looks okay. He's got his senses back together, and there's a little bit of a resigned look on his face and a shrug of the shoulders, as much as to say, well, for 6 or 7 rounds I made him look pretty stupid out there. Well, let's take a look at just how this fight turned around once again. This is the first one. Forde was unloading, and then there was that punch aimed a right and then a clubbing left into the side of the head.
Forde totally lost control of his legs.
His legs had gone by then. Mickey Van had a long, hard look, and Ross Hale, well, he just had a chance to measure his man, find his target.
Oh, there was no getting up from that, was there?
Bingo.
Perfect knockout punch.
Perfect knockout punch. Take a look at it again. Oof.
Oh, there was every ounce of body weight behind that.
Well, it was a spectacular end when it came, and jubilation for the fans.
I think relief as much as jubilation, because only 20 seconds before that it looked like Hale was about to be an ex-champion.
But he's got the power, you see. He's got the power, but it was not by any standards an impressive performance. Now we're going to hear it announced to the fans who have seen their man win once again.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 3 minutes and 4 seconds of the 7th round, the referee has stopped the contest. Hugh Forde in no position to defend himself. The winner and undefeated light welterweight champion of Great Britain, Ross Hale!
Well done, Ross Hale, and we've just heard from ringside that Hugh Forde has thrown in the towel and says he's retired. Well, earlier this evening we saw a flyweight contest.